How's it going? I'm Jared Gillis. Welcome to another All About RVs. Today, we're looking at a handful of things that RVers commonly get wrong. I consistently see these come up in social media posts of misunderstood information or RV gear that you don't fully understand all the benefits that come with it. So let's not waste any time. Let's get right into it. So now to start off, this first one is really simple and basic, but if you weren't taught the proper information, I can see how it could get a little confusing. And it's the propane regulator, specifically the one for dual tanks on RVs. This one is our backup, looks a little bit different than the one that's on our RV, but functions the same. This is one of the things that I like to have on hand as a backup, because if you've ever had one of these go down and you don't have propane, you can't cook, you can't use the heat, it's nice to be able to have the backup on hand because you can't always find these quickly. Now, the confusion comes in is what to do with this selector. Do I put it down in the middle so it draws off of both tanks? Do I put it towards one side, close the other tank? That way when this one's empty, I can go fill it. Here's the truth with this, is these are auto changeover, and this here is your primary selector. That makes the tank hooked up on this side your primary tank. It'll draw from this tank until it's empty, and then as long as this tank is open and has propane, it will automatically switch over. Your arrow will still be pointed towards the empty tank and it'll indicate red. So then you switch this over to make this now your new primary tank. This will indicate green that you have propane, and then you can go fill up the propane that you just emptied. I don't wait until both of my tanks are emptied and I go and fill them up, because 9 times out of 10, that's gonna happen at a very inconvenient time. But if I always have one tank that has propane and I fill up the other tank, then I'm not going to run out of propane at awkward times. Another thing that often gets overlooked is you should be opening those tanks slowly, because these have an excess flow valve. So basically, if it thinks that there's a leak, it will shut it down. And sometimes opening the tank too fast will shut it down. Pretty easy. You just close the tank, wait till you hear a little bit of a sound, that disengaging, then crack it open, and then fully open it after a few seconds. Definitely something you want to keep in mind. Okay, so now this next one, I often see it, but again, is pretty simple, and it's the pressure regulator. The question is, with these adjustable pressure regulators, when do I set my pressure? Do I set it while the water is flowing or when it is stopped? The simple answer is you always want to do it when the water's not flowing. So the water's connected to here, you have it pressurized, but you're not flowing throughout any of the RV. You want to think about this as a safety device. You want to look at the maximum pressure that's coming into your RV, and you don't want to exceed that. When you turn on the water and you have flow, you can see that pressure drops, but that's not going to be protecting you from the max pressure that this is going to see. So you always want to make sure that your water is not flowing when you adjust your pressure regulator. If you have one that's not adjustable, it doesn't matter because it's going to be set. These are typically around 40 PSI. We usually like to run around 50 PSI. So when I set this, I will dial it down and then I'll turn it up to the PSI that we want. So simple answer, set your pressure when the water's not flowing. On the topic of water, we have a new product from today's sponsor, which is LiquiShine. From the company that brought you Liquefied, we now have LiquiShine for washing the RV. We have the wash and wax, we have the black streak remover, we have a solution for getting the bugs off and for the roof. Right now, I have the wash and wax. I'm saving some bugs and black streaks to see how that does, but you can use this without water or you can use it with water. I almost always use water when I'm washing the RV, but if you needed to touch something up, you could use this without water. They set out to make a product that was easy to use. It leaves a slick, glossy finish that helps repel water, and you can use it on fiberglass, painted surfaces, and decals, so it's very flexible to use. I'm looking forward to checking out the rest of the lineup. They just launched this, and they always love to do big promotions, so now until the end of the month, February 28th, they are doing a drawing for a 1-year supply, so links are going to be down in the description, so you can check out LiquiShine and possibly win a 1-year supply. Oh, and be sure to put in the code so that you don't pay full price. All About RVs 15 should save you 15%. So let's carry on with our list and move on to the next one. Now, this one, as I think about it, is almost more of a manufacturer deception than it is a misconception, but having the proper information does help out, and it's the water capacity on RVs. So many times manufacturers will overstate their water capacity because they lump things like water heaters into your capacity. If you go out with water in your water heater, you're going to be coming back home with the water in your pipes and in your water heater. For me, capacity is things that I can actually use. So if I wanted to know the true capacity of my RV for fresh water, is I would use one of those meters when filling up my tank so I know how many gallons are actually going into my holding tank. That way you can have the real number, and if you want to bring out extra water, you kind of know how much is going into your holding tank, how much you have, and if you get more, how much longer you can stay out there with that fresh water. So that information can help you out to make good decisions. The next one is a very common misconception. It's not understanding the difference between a standard surge protector and an EMS or an EPO device. Yes, they'll have a surge protector in them, but they do a lot more than just your standard surge protector that's out there. Now, an EMS or an EPO will constantly monitor the power coming to your RV. So if they change anything in the park, or the voltage drops, or something happens where it's better to shut the power off to your RV than let the power come through, it will actively shut down the power. So some of these problems that happen inside of RV parks, it will protect you from that. Next on our list is the battery gauge. So many people will take the battery gauge at face value. You have 4 indicator lights, and when you press the button, it's going to tell you what it's at, and you assume that it's going to be accurate. The problem is it's based off of voltage, and voltage can be manipulated. If you're drawing from your batteries, that voltage is going to dip. It's going to make your battery look lower than it actually is. And if you're charging, it's going to make that battery look more full than it possibly already is. And if you switched over to lithium, that gauge isn't going to do anything for you. So I take those gauges kind of with a grain of salt. But something popular that a lot of people like to do is switch over to a shunt-based system, which is much more accurate. But what not everybody knows is that they can get out of sync as well. That shunt acts like a meter in and out, but they can drift just a little bit. So what they do is they look for conditions of when they get full, they will auto reset to be 100%. And so sometimes those conditions can happen, and it looks like you go to 100% and you know that you're probably not. It's best just to charge those back up, get it to 100% and kind of resync that system. It's not something that happens all the time, but if you ever come across this, now you'll know what's actually going on. Next on our list is the battery disconnect. You would think that having a battery disconnect would disconnect your battery, but having a battery disconnect on an RV, almost always, there's still things connected when you turn your battery disconnect. Things like alarms and breakaway switches and propane alarms are still connected to your battery, so oftentimes people will disconnect the negative side of their battery when they're gonna not be using it for a while or putting it in storage. It's always been kind of funny to me, if you're gonna have a disconnect switch, just have it be a disconnect switch. And I get it, some of those are essential things that they don't want you necessarily disconnecting, but when you have to disconnect from your negative on your battery just to fully disconnect, you still have to remember to connect your battery in order to go out and use your RVs, your breakaway switch, your propane alarm, and those things are going to work. So I'd rather just have it a switch rather than something that I have to connect and disconnect on the battery. So that's just my 2 cents. Now this next one is something that people will get wrong just about every year, and it's usually setting up an electrical connection at your house for your RV and confusing a 30 amp 120 volt RV plug for a 240 volt connection. 50 amps for the RV is 2 hot legs coming into the RV. And for a lot of electricians out there, they look at the 30 amp outlet, and when you ask them to put it in, it looks like a dryer outlet or a 240 volt typical connection. The problem is 30 amp connection for an RV is only 120 volts with a single hot leg. You try and bring in 2 hot legs into your RV, and you're going to fry a lot of equipment. So if you're hiring an electrician to put in an outlet at your house for your RV, if it's 30 amp, make sure that it's single pole, and if it's 50 amp, it's double pole. Mixing those up have catastrophic results, so you don't want to mix that up. So now, what else should be on this list? What's a common thing that you see out there in the comments or on social media? Somebody asking the same question that was asked last year that's just kind of information that not all RVers know. Please leave a comment down below and let me know what that is. So I hope some of this information today helped you out. So if you come across any of these things and it helps understand the battery monitor, the pressure regulator, I hope some of this helps you out in RVing. So anyways, I think that's going to do it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Hope that it helped you out in some way. And as always, if we don't see you on the road, hopefully we will. See you next video. Take care.